Welcome back to Beyond the Battlefield, the place where the Bhagavad Gita stops being a distant scripture and starts becoming a mirror. And today, we enter one of the most human moments in the entire dialogue. Not a moment of enlightenment, not a moment of victory, a moment of deep, almost uncomfortable honesty. Because today, Arjuna says something that every thoughtful human being has felt. What you are saying sounds true. It sounds beautiful. It sounds liberating. But my mind is too restless for this. And honestly, Ankur, that may be one of the most relatable moments in the whole Gita.
Completely. Because this is not Arjuna arguing with Krishna. This is not Arjuna rejecting yoga. This is not even Arjuna doubting the beauty of the state Krishna has described. He is saying something far more intimate. He is saying, I can see the attraction of what you are saying. I can feel the pull of that higher state. I can sense that there must be immense peace there, perhaps even supreme bliss there. But with this mind, how can that state ever become stable? That is a very different question. He is not denying the destination. He is doubting the vehicle. He is not rejecting truth. He is confessing the condition of his own mind.
Which is so modern, isn't it? Because this is exactly where so many people are today. They are not short of wisdom. They are drowning in wisdom. They have listened to podcasts, read books, saved quotes, attended retreats, written journal entries, made promises to themselves. They know they should stay calm. They know they should remain centered. They know they should not react impulsively. They know they should focus. They know they should not live from anxiety. They know. But the question is, can they stay there? And that feels like Arjuna's question.
Exactly. That is why this moment is so powerful. Arjuna is asking not a philosophical question, but an existential one. Not what is samatva, but how can samatva remain stable in me? Not is peace real, but can peace stay in a restless mind? And that difference is everything.
O Madhusudan, this yoga of equanimity that you have described, I do not see how it can remain stable, because the mind is restless.
That line, sthitin stiram, a stable state, that is the pain. Not that truth is false, not that Krishna is wrong, but that Arjuna cannot see how this inner state can stay.
Arjuna is saying, your words are right. The state you describe is attractive. I can feel why anyone would want to journey into that dimension. I can sense the bliss of that possibility. But the mind is so restless. I simply do not understand how, with such a mind, one can ever attain a stable inner state. Even for a moment, he does not trust that it will remain. And that is brutally honest. He is not saying, I don't want it. He is saying, I don't trust my mind enough to remain in it.
And that may be the real heartbreak of modern life too. Because people don't just suffer from confusion, they suffer from discontinuity. They touch clarity and then lose it. They touch silence and then lose it. They touch courage and then lose it. They touch conviction and then lose it. A leader leaves a strategy offsite feeling aligned. Then one crisis comes and the mind scatters. A founder feels centered after reflection. Then one investor email comes and everything shakes. A parent decides to become calmer. Then one difficult moment happens and the old pattern returns. So yes, Arjuna is ancient, but this question is completely current.
Very much so. And notice something important. This is not weakness. This is the beginning of maturity. Because most people do not admit this. They pretend. They borrow spiritual language. They use disciplined vocabulary. They say, I'm grounded, I'm aligned, I'm detached, I'm peaceful. But the mind inside remains exactly where it was. Arjuna does not do that. He does not decorate his inner state, he reveals it.
That's powerful, because that means this verse is not about failure. It is about diagnosis.
Exactly. And diagnosis is everything. Until the disease is seen clearly, treatment cannot begin. What Krishna receives here is not resistance. He receives a clean psychological report from Arjuna. Arjuna is telling him exactly where he stands, and that makes the next step possible.
Then he goes deeper. And verse 34 almost feels like Arjuna saying, let me explain why this feels impossible to me.
The mind is restless, disturbing, powerful, stubborn, and to restrain it feels as difficult as controlling the wind.
Ankur, this is not a casual complaint. This is a complete anatomy of the mind.
Yes, and every word matters. Arjuna does not use one adjective, he uses many. He says the mind is chanchal, restless, not still even for a moment. It keeps moving from here to there, from past to future, from hope to fear, from memory to fantasy. Then he says it is pramati. This is deeper than simple restlessness. It means disturbing, agitating, churning, shaking. The mind does not merely move, it unsettles, it throws you off center. This is not a weak little nuisance. This force can overpower your intention. And then drim, stubborn, tenacious, adamant. It holds its own pattern. It maintains its nature. So Arjuna is saying, this mind is not merely active, it is intensely active, agitating, forceful, and persistent.
And that is why his question feels so real. Because he is not saying, my mind wanders a little. He is saying, my mind has a nature that seems fundamentally opposed to stillness.
Yes, and this creates a beautiful image here. Arjuna compares the mind to the wind. And Osho expands that image in a stunning way. He says, try to hold the wind in your fist. You cannot. The tighter you close your fist, the more it escapes. You cannot even properly see the wind so that you may chase it. And it never stays still long enough for you to say, now I have caught it. That is exactly how the mind behaves. Invisible, ungraspable, and known only through its effects.
That part is extraordinary. Because when you really think about it, we don't experience wind directly. We experience leaves shaking, dust moving, skin being touched, doors rattling, air striking us. We know wind through disturbance, not through direct capture.
Exactly. And that is one of the deepest insights here. You do not really experience the mind itself. You experience its movement. You experience its tremors. You experience its agitation, its changing states, its shifting impulses. Just as with wind, if the wind were completely still, you would not experience it in the same way. Similarly, what you usually call mind is really the experience of mental movement. Mind through its chanchalata, its restlessness. Mind through its fluctuation. So Arjuna is saying something subtle here. He is saying, all I know of the mind is motion. How then can I believe in stillness?
And that sounds almost reasonable. I mean, from the standpoint of lived experience, it makes sense. If someone has only known darkness, and you tell them there is light, from their experience, they might say that light seems impossible. If someone has only known noise, silence may feel unimaginable. If someone has only known a restless mind, stillness may sound like a poetic fantasy.
Yes, Arjuna is right, but only partially right. He is right in saying, I have experienced restlessness. I do not know stillness. That is true. But he goes one step too far when he concludes with, therefore stillness is impossible. That conclusion does not follow. And that is a mistake all human beings make. We take our current experience and turn it into a law of existence. We say, I have not experienced peace. So peace must be impossible. I have not experienced God, so God must not exist. I have not experienced deep inner silence. So such silence must be imaginary. But this is a negative conclusion built from limited experience.
That is so important. Because there is a huge difference between saying, I have not known it, and saying, it cannot be known. Those are not the same statement.
Exactly. And that gap is where so much spiritual tragedy begins. Because once the mind declares something impossible, effort collapses. And when effort collapses, the impossibility appears confirmed. Then the mind says, see, I told you it cannot happen. This becomes a self-reinforcing cycle. You believe stillness is impossible, so you stop moving toward it. Because you stop moving toward it, you never taste it. Because you never taste it here, your belief hardens. And the harder it becomes, the more impossible it feels. This is why inner conclusions are so dangerous.
And that applies to leadership too. A person says, I can never become calm under pressure. I can never change my reaction pattern. I can never become less anxious. I can never let go of this fear. And once that identity settles, they stop practicing. Then their old behavior repeats. Then they use the repetition as proof that change was never possible. So the belief becomes the prison.
Yes, and this is why Arjuna's question is psychologically brilliant. It shows us exactly where the human mind oversteps. Experience is valid, but the conclusion drawn from incomplete experience may be false. An angry person may say, calmness is impossible. A blind person may say, light is impossible. A person who has never heard music may say, sound beyond vibration is impossible. But impossibility is not established merely because one has not yet experienced something.
Beautiful. And then there is another layer in what you shared, this distinction between matter and mind. Because Arjuna's example is wind, but it seems even that comparison has limitations in today's world.
Yes, very important. Wind is still matter. Mind is not matter in that way. If science wants, it can cool air, compress it, transform its state. Wind belongs to the material realm. But mind is not a physical object like that. Mind is more like a relation, a subtle interface, a kind of living connection between body and consciousness. That is why trying to treat it as a solid thing you can grab is misleading. You cannot hold a relationship in your hand. You cannot weigh jealousy in a bowl. You cannot cut open a chest and find love sitting there like an organ. Love is real but not object-like. Similarly, mind is experienced but not as a solid material entity.
And that changes everything. Because if mind is not a thing in that crude sense, then maybe the language of grabbing and forcing it was flawed from the beginning.
Exactly. That is another reason why Arjuna's comparison is emotionally right but metaphysically incomplete. He feels the uncontrollability. That is valid. But the mechanism of mind is subtler than wind. Mind is not a brick, not a stone, not a lump you can seize. It is a moving relational phenomenon. And because it is a relation, it can also change. This is crucial. Matter transforms differently. But a relation can appear and disappear. A bond can form and dissolve. An attachment can be created and released. A fixation can be built and broken. That means mind is not a permanent prison. It is dynamic.
And then comes the most surprising insight. If something is restless, that very fact may imply that stillness is possible. Because every movement in life is bound to its opposite.
Yes, this is a very deep law. Anything that moves can stop. Anything that runs can stand. Anything that fluctuates holds within it the possibility of steadiness. In existence, opposites are not disconnected. They are paired. Life and death. Heat and cold. Day and night. Love and conflict. Movement and rest. So if mind is restless, that does not prove stillness is impossible. In a deeper way, it may actually indicate that stillness is latent within it. If there were no possibility of stillness at all, even restlessness would not be meaningful in the same way. The very polarity suggests the hidden opposite.
That's almost the opposite of normal thinking. Normal thinking says, the mind is restless, therefore it cannot be still. But deeper understanding says, the mind is restless, therefore stillness must be somewhere in the structure of possibility. That is a radical shift.
Yes, our surface logic often feels convincing, but it is not always true. The discourse says very beautifully, Arjuna sounds reasonable, but reason is not the same as truth. Many things sound logical from limited experience, but life is deeper than our immediate logic. A person says, because I am alive, death seems impossible to imagine, but life contains death. A person says, because there is love, conflict should not be there. But love and conflict often move together in human attachment. A person says, because I have always been this way, I will always remain this way. But existence is not obligated to obey your past.
And that is such an important point for listeners. Your past is not proof of your permanent future. Just because your mind has always been noisy does not mean silence is impossible. Just because you have always reacted does not mean freedom from reaction is impossible. Just because anxiety has been your pattern does not mean anxiety is your essence.
Exactly. And that is why Krishna lets Arjuna say all this. He does not interrupt him. He lets the whole mental structure come out. Because before transformation, the mind must reveal its own logic. It must reveal its assumptions. its hidden conclusions, its premature impossibilities, only then can a deeper answer be given.
And that also explains why this episode must end here. Because this is not the answer. This is the full dignity of the problem. And I think that matters. Too often we rush to solutions. But there is something sacred about staying with the question until it becomes fully alive.
Yes, because the answer Krishna gives next will carry weight only if we first feel the authenticity of Arjuna's dilemma. If we do not feel this restlessness, if we do not feel this inner shaking, if we do not feel this almost painful honesty, then Krishna's response becomes just another teaching. But after this confession, the next teaching becomes medicine.
And I think that is the emotional heart of today's episode. Arjuna has not failed. He has become transparent. He has not walked away from yoga. He has shown Krishna the exact place where yoga appears impossible. And maybe that is where real learning begins. Not when we pretend to be advanced, but when we can finally say, "This is where I am. This is my mind. This is my restlessness. This is my truth."
Yes, and that is leadership too. Leadership begins to deepen the moment performance drops and honesty rises. The moment a leader stops projecting certainty and starts seeing inner disorder clearly, growth becomes possible. The moment you stop saying, "I'm fine," and start saying, "My mind is unstable under pressure," the journey becomes real. Because truth has finally entered the room.
So maybe the invitation for the listener today is not control your mind. Not yet. Maybe the invitation is see your mind clearly. See its speed, see its turbulence, see its force, see its stubbornness, see how quickly it runs, see how easily it concludes impossibility. See how it uses past experience to close future doors. See it. Because Arjuna first sees it before Krishna responds to it.
Beautifully said. And there is one more thing. Arjuna's question is not merely his own, it is the question of every mind. This is not only Arjuna speaking. This is the human mind speaking. That is why this moment has survived centuries. Because every seeker reaches this threshold. Every leader reaches this threshold. Every thoughtful human being reaches this threshold. The teaching is attractive. The higher state is attractive. The possibility of peace is attractive. But then the mind says, "With me, impossible."
And that is exactly where we leave this episode. At the edge of the answer. At the edge of Krishna's reply. At the edge of one of the most important turning points in inner mastery. Because now, the real question is no longer whether the mind is restless. Arjuna has established that. The question now is, if the mind is truly this restless, can it still be trained? Can it still be brought into steadiness? Can something so moving ever know stillness? And in the next episode, Krishna answers. If this episode felt uncomfortably personal, that means it did its work. Share it with someone who understands what it means to know the right thing and still struggle to live it. Subscribe, follow, and stay with us on this journey through the Bhagavad Gita. And write to us at beyondthebattlefield@outlook.in. Also, check the GPT companion link in the description. Until next time.